Hi, everybody, and welcome back to me, Kevin from Smart Home Improvement People. So, today, what I thought I'd speak about, because I've been asked this question on a few occasions and not really spoken about it, and that is how and why Smart Home Improvement People Limited was created. Now, it was created about 8 to 9 years ago, and to be honest, initially, I never had any interest in starting a double glazing company. Okay. And I'll be honest with you, I never did. So, what basically happened was about a decade ago, I was actually working at the time, and it was the last double glazing company I worked for, which was Safestyle. And I was working for Safestyle UK down in Southampton. And one day, the person that I was working for at the time, or working with, sent me home. Because he said, God, Kevin, you look awful, you look ill. And I thought, oh, God, you're going to send me home, really? So he dropped me off round the corner from my house, and I thought, I ain't going home. I ain't going home, so I've got to listen to who is now my wife. I've got to listen to her all whinging. And then I'm going to have to listen to my stepdaughter moaning at me. I thought, sod it. I'm going to the pub. And looking back, it was a stupid thing to do because I went and had a stroke. Okay. Luckily, there was a guy in the pub that I was in, knew first aid and treated, got me all the treatment that I needed. And from that day, for about 2 years, I was signed off on the sick. I was on ESA. And then I remember the day my daughter was born, which is my second born daughter, first with my actual wife. My mum had to take me to an appointment. I had to go and have a medical to do at the Jobcentre. I still remember, to be honest, I was half asleep. The appointment really should have been cancelled because I'd been up for over 24 hours because obviously my wife had been induced and my daughter had been born that morning, so I had to go at about lunchtime. And when I got there, the woman who had to do it was a doctor. She said, Kevin, you're wasting my time. I don't even know why you're here. I don't even know why the Jobcentre's bothered wasting my time sending you to me. So what we're going to do, we'll quickly do the paperwork and then you can bugger off home. I said, okay, all right. I could get used to appointments like this. So a couple of weeks later, I had to go to the Jobcentre for my usual appointment because I was under no pressure to go back to work or anything. Um, and the woman I was seeing, she was a really nice lady as well. And I remember she said to me, Kevin, what are you going to do about getting yourself back to work? And I remember making this statement to her, and this was my words. I said, unless you can get me a job working from home, and I'm going to be paid a full time wage so I can support my wife and my children, it's just not going to happen. You've already had the report from the doctor saying this guy is not fit to go back to work because he's had a stroke. Okay, and he also has 3 types of epilepsy. It is not going to happen. Okay, and so she was asking me, is there any way that you could, if we could help you, okay, what could you do? And I said, well, I've had an old friend from my days of working for Apple Home Improvements contacted me recently and said, would you be able to generate leads online? And I remember the woman at the time, she said to me at the Jobcentre, she said, if we were able to help you start a business and give you the support you need under no pressure, and you're only given a maximum amount that you could earn, how would that sound? I said, well, go and have a chat with my wife, see what she says. And that's basically what happened. It was from a conversation, an innocent conversation, with the job centre around starting a business. And at the time, all we were looking at was generating like 125 quid a week. That's all we were allowed to generate, was £125. And it started from there. So from that, we started getting contacts. We started getting in contact with other companies. That particular friend, he was actually working with Zenith. I got top contacts at Everest, Anglin, um, Leeds Trade, who I've been dealing with probably for about 8-9 years now. A really good company, Leeds Trader. And that's how we actually decided to actually do it. I had no plans to do anything. And from that point of view, we've got a website built and designed. We've got all the social media platforms done. And so, from our point of view, that's how it all got created. But from the ethics point of view, what we wanted to do and why we moved straight away from Zenith and Everest pretty quickly was because I'd worked in the home improvement sector probably for about 8-9 years. One of the things that I was tired of was people being ripped off, people being overpriced and charged for what they were getting. And I thought, there's got to be a better way of doing it, where people can get a conservatory or double glazing or a replacement door or a new roof, whatever it may be, without rawly getting rinsed. And that is what I had found for many years. And I remember, and this is a slight story, I remember whilst I was working for Apple Home Improvements, and one of the guys I used to work with, a lad called Damien. Damien was an absolutely blinded lad. Used to date my sister at one stage as well. And I remember when me and him used to go around, we used to go to the installs. So my job to go and knock on the door of whoever it is that's having something installed, which made it open that hopefully they were doing a good job and there was no mess ups. Otherwise, I was going to get it right rawly from the customer. And my friend Damien was going to knock the houses around. And I remember this one particular customer. It was over in Hythe in Southampton. And this was one of the occasions where they were doing a good job. And they were having their back windows installed. I remember they had a porch at the front. And they actually came from up by Hartlepool. It was an elderly couple, they were probably in their 70s at the time. So this is over a decade, be over a decade ago, about 12 years ago this would have been. And he was in the military, and after he came out of the military, he built ships. Things that you learn of people is ridiculous. And I remember saying to him, and he invited me into his house, and I said, why have you only got the back windows done? Why have you got the front windows done? And he said, well, the problem was your company that you work for gave me a good price on the back windows, but they didn't give me a very good price on the front windows. I said, well, for Christ's sake. I said, okay, how much did they, I remember saying to him, how much did they quote you? And the funny thing was, he got the paperwork. He had it all filed in a drawer. His filing system was absolutely out of this world. And he got it out. And I remember saying to the guy, I said, look, you're now an existing customer. Okay. So from my point of view, what I did for him, I didn't need to do, because there was no benefit to me. I wasn't going to make any money for myself, but I was doing it for him as a favour, out of goodwill. And I said to him, you are aware, now that you're an existing customer, you're entitled to a discount, which is what the company did. He said, no, I wasn't aware of that. I said, right, what we're going to do is I'm going to phone up the office. And if I can get you 50% off, would you get your front windows done and get your porch door replaced? He said, yeah, I would. I said, right, give me 2 minutes. And I was literally stood there with him, and I got my boss on the phone, it's canvassing manager. I said, look, and I said to him, why on earth, and I had a go at him, I had a right go at him. I said, why on earth didn't you just do the deal? He wants his front windows done, he wanted his porch door done. Why didn't you just do the deal in the first place? Rather than me having to come out here, it's not my job to be selling it to him, because the guy's agreed that if you can give him the price that he wants, I get it done. And I said, all right, we'll send somebody out. I said, hurry up and get them out right away. And I said, okay, well, we're sending them out straight away. We'll send the rep who originally did it. Now, which is what they did, and obviously I'd made somebody else some money. Another canvasser, it upped their commission from what they were originally got. So, did I get a thank you? Of course I didn't. So, the reality was, what I was tired of was people being ripped off because they were trying to overcharge and not just give the customer what they want at a price point, which is where the company's going to be happy and the customer's happy. So when we created smart home improvement, people, that's what we wanted. And that's the only thing that we've been interested in, is making sure the customer's happy as well as the business is happy. So everybody's happy, everybody gets what they want at the end of the day, and it's happy days. Because where I'd seen so many people overcharged with companies that I work for, Apple Home Improvements is no longer in existence. Like a company went bankrupt and got bought by another company up in Winchester at the end of the day. So having seen that for such a long time, when we create this company, that's what we wanted. We wanted people to be treated like human beings and get a price that they're happy with at the end of the day. So that's what we decided to do, and that's what we've tried to do for the last about 8 years. So that's where we are as a company. Obviously, if you want to find out more or any way that we can help you, you're more than welcome to get in contact with us at www.smarthomeimprovement.co.uk. But for now, thanks for listening, and I'll speak to you all again a bit later.